Good evening, RMP aspirants. Mr. Rizwan is with me, and we are going to solve questions for qualitative risk analysis. Yes, Rizwan bhai, question number 11, please.
You are the project manager for your organization. You are working with your project team to complete the qualitative risk analysis process. The first tool and technique you are using requires that you assess the probability and what other characteristics of each identified risk in the project.
Yeah.
Cost, risk category, risk owner, impact. So, sir, we are in the risk analysis process and doing qualitative analysis. So,
Good.
for probability, we will do with impact. So, option D is the right one.
Good. Very good. Impact is the right answer. Good. Question number 12.
Which one of the following statements best describes the requirement for the data type used in the qualitative risk analysis?
Hmm.
A qualitative risk analysis requires fast and simple data to complete the analysis. A qualitative risk analysis encourages biased data to reveal risk tolerances. A qualitative risk analysis requires accurate and unbiased data if it is too credible. A qualitative risk analysis requires unbiased stakeholders with biased risk tolerances. Sir, I think option A is the right one
How?
because
Fast.
sir, I just eliminate other because the D option it says the unbiased stakeholders with
Okay,
biased
that's
risk
correct.
tolerances,
Okay,
and
that's
option
correct.
C also I eliminated requires accurate, uh,
Yeah,
but we
accurate
will
we
do
require.
just but
Accurate we require
and yes sir accurate we
accuracy.
required and unbiased data if it is too credible.
Hmm. So why you are
Option
eliminating the X?
because sir, qualitative requires accurate and unbiased data if it is to be credible.
This is the success factor of qualitative risk analysis. Accurate and unbiased data if it is to be credible.
What does we will take about unbiased data? What does exactly this means? This word.
It means that data which is not having any type of, immaturity of knowledge, you can say, or in ambiguity. Any ambiguity should not be there.
So it means that it is clear. The data
It's
is
clear.
clear.
Yes. Clear out of any in unhonesty.
Requires accurate and unbiased data if it is to be. Sir, okay, I agree with C. But
Mm.
if the option B, it says a qualitative risk analysis encourages unbiased data, but
Biased
it
data.
says risk tolerance. Yeah, but okay,
Biased data.
okay. It
That
says
is
risk tolerance. Biased data means that it is not accurate.
not accurate. Yes.
Yes, option B is wrong also.
Yes.
Qualitative,
And
fast
fast
and
and
simple.
simple, that is not any characteristic of qualitative analysis for the data collection. It's not necessary that fast and simple. Sometimes the risks are very complex, so that assessment can also be complex. It's not necessary that we have simple data every time. So,
Then
which one is
C,
the right answer?
C,
C is the
C,
right
C.
answer. Accurate and unbiased data. Okay. Question number 13.
You are working with the project stakeholders to begin with the qualitative risk analysis process. You will need all of the following as inputs to the qualitative risk analysis process, except for which one? Risk management plan, risk register, stakeholder register, project scope statement. Risk management plan is the output, risk register is the Sir, option C, because it says for inputs, risk management plan, risk register, these are created in the first two processes and also the stakeholder register. So these are the inputs. Project scope
Stakeholder,
statement is not.
see, stakeholder register we need in the plan risk management. When we are developing the risk management plan, when we are identifying the risk. But for qualitative stakeholder register, we don't need. Scope statement we need. Scope statement, because in qualitative we will see that which areas are having heavy risks. So those work packages which are laden by heavy risk, that can be helped by the scope statement. So I think stakeholder register is the, yeah, stakeholder register is the right answer. Question number 14.
What is the primary advantage of group risk by common causes during qualitative risk analysis? It helps the project team realize the areas of the project most laden with risk. It
Hmm.
saves time by collecting the related resources such as project team members to analyze the risk events. It can lead to developing effective risk responses. It can lead to the creation of risk categories unique to each project. It can lead to the creation of risk categories unique to each project. It can lead to developing effective risk responses. It saves time by collecting related resources such as project team members to analyze risk events. Helps the project team realize the areas of the. Sir, option A I eliminated because it helps the project team realize the area of the project most laden with risk.
Hmm.
B, it saves time by collecting related resources such as project team members to analyze the risk event. Uh, yeah, I will also eliminate this because it says by collecting related resources, this line is okay, such as team members to analyze the risk event. So for this thing, I eliminate this one.
Okay.
CED. It can lead to developing effective risk. It can lead to the creation of risk categories.
Hmm.
Sir, I think option C is the right one because
Right answer.
the risk categories are created in the risk register. So
In the risk management plan,
C
they are
in the
created
risk
in
one.
management plan. Risks are identified with the help of risk categories, and then
But
categorization of risk is done in qualitative.
qualitative, but the its risk categories this is related to the RPS, like
RBS, yes.
technical risk,
Yes,
which are
yes,
or
right.
the okay.
RBS, yes. So C is the right answer. Question number 15.
Virginia is the project manager for her organization. She has hired a subject matter expert to interview the project stakeholders on
Yes.
certain identified risk within the project. The subject matter expert will assess the risk event with
Hmm.
what specific goal in mind to determine the level of probability and impact for each risk event, to determine the validity of each risk event, to determine the probability and cost of the risk event, to determine the bias of the risk event based on each person interviewed. Here to interview stakeholders or identify risk, will assess the risk event with what goal in mind. Of the risk event based on each person interviewed to determine the probability and cost. No, in qualitative we don't do cost. So
Right.
CI eliminated. to
Good.
determine the validity of each risk event. Uh, This one also wrong
Yes,
because
because we
the
do in
risk
it.
always change throughout the project to determine the level probability and impact of each risk event to determine the price of the risk event based on. Sir, I think option A is correct because
It's right.
uh, the
Option
subject
is
matter
correct.
expert will assess the on the basis of probability and impact.
Good, good. Bias he is not going to determine here for the persons who are interviewed. Okay. Yes. Question number 16.
Which tool can the project risk manager utilize to help identify and assess project risk? Risk audit, risk sensitivity surveys, interviews, risk events, risk surveys, interviews, risk sensitive. Which tool can the project risk manager utilize to help identify and assess project risk? So, sir, C is the right one because risk audit we do after the risk occurs. Risk sensitivity survey, I don't know this, but risk surveys, I think it also happens
Risk
during
audit
the
is in
surveys.
monitoring. That's right. Risk audit
Yes,
is in
sir.
monitoring. Risk sensitivity survey, you can say sensitivity analysis, that is in quantitative, but he is asking identify
Assess.
and assess. Assess mean not only quantitative, qualitative also. Identify, qualitative and quantitative. Three processes. He is asking which is the tool which is common in three processes. Identify risk, qualitative assessment and quantitative assessment. So sensitivity is only for the quantitative analysis. So it is dropped. Interviews, yes, when we identify the risk, we interview. When we do the assessment, then also we interview the subject matter experts, those who know that which similar risks, similar work packages having the risk and how the qualitative assessment is done. And similarly, we interview the SMEs for those SMEs which are familiar with using the tools suitable for the project from the quantitative analysis and also identify risk. So interviews is the common tool for these three processes. Risk surveys, if we want to say this is a risk status meeting, then it is also in monitoring. It's not in the identify risk or in the assessment of the qualitative and quantitative. So finally, interview is the only tool which is useful in three of the processes: identification, qualitative, and quantitative. 17.
You are a risk manager of a construction project for your organization. You have assessed all project risk and the team is now identifying common grouping of risk. Which of the following techniques is used to perform the risk assessment? Risk breakdown structure, report, EMV, risk probability, and impact assessment. The team is now identifying common grouping of risk, common grouping of risk. So this one is risk probability and impact assessment because we write down all the risk and then we do what is the probability and impact.
Good,
So this is grouping.
good, very good. Probability and impact assessment. Right answer. Question number 18.
The risk manager for a construction project successfully developed the risk management plan and risk register. The risk manager starts the analysis process and develops the probability and impact scales that then presented the scales to the project manager who rejects to accept the proposed scales. What did the risk manager forego to prior to developing the probability and impact scales? Take approvals from the project managers to develop the risk register, understanding the risk appetite of the stakeholders, interviewing the stakeholders, informing the project manager about the risk management plan. Sir, option C is eliminated because it says that he develops the probability and impact scales.
Right.
So that means he did the P and I.
Mm-hmm.
Risk appetite is not here because it is in the plan strategy and
Right.
in the
Strategy and plan. Okay.
strategy at plan. Take approvals from the project manager to develop the risk register. Sir, A is also wrong
Mm-hmm.
to because take approvals from the project manager to develop the risk register. Also, the risk register is developed in the second part, risk
Right.
identification. So, sir, I think D is right,
Mm.
informing the project manager about the risk management process.
And another thing is that the risk manager successfully developed the risk management plan, risk register. It means he is the only person who is doing these things alone. Risk processes should not be performed alone. He should involve relevant stakeholders. It means when he has done alone, it did not involve the project manager. He did not inform him, and that he should do before doing any process. That's why his skills were rejected. G 19.
A project manager is managing a construction project. There is no past experience is an important portion of a project. Therefore, the project manager hires an expert from outside the company to help in identifying and analyzing risk. The project manager knows that the risk management process has many benefits but will also need cost. As a project manager, what should you do? Determine that benefits exceed the cost where risk is involved. Cancel the risk management processes that is it is costly. Assign additional resources from the company with proper knowledge and keep cost down.
Okay.
Issue change request to reduce the risk management activities.
Mm.
Sir, I will eliminate B, cancel the risk management processes.
Okay.
Assign additional resources from the company because it says that they don't have experienced person. So that is
Right.
why C is also eliminated.
Right.
Issue change request to reduce the risk management. And so D is also wrong because we cannot reduce, we can only change the plan. So that
Right.
was issue. So E is right,
A is the right
that
answer.
benefits exceeds.
Benefit should exceed the cost. This should be considered when we are analyzing the risk. Okay. Question number 20.
After identifying the risk by the risk manager and the project team members, the risk manager wants to engage the whole project team in prioritizing and identified risk, but the project manager refuses the engagement of the whole project team due to resource concern. As a risk manager, what should you do? Engage the project team in the risk prioritization process and then discuss lesson learned with the project manager after finishing the process. Follow the project manager's instruction as the project manager is the responsible. Convince the project manager of the importance of the whole project team's engagement in all risk processes. Ask the functional manager to replace the project manager with another helpful. Sir, I will eliminate option D because it doesn't say about the matrix organization.
Right.
So convince the project manager of the importance as the project manager. Sir, A, I will also eliminate B
Okay.
and C. Follow the project manager instructions as the project manager is responsible. Convince the project manager of the importance of the. Sir, I think C is right. First, we will
C is
try
right.
to convince.
Convince.
If not,
That's right. That's right. 21.
you are a project manager who is in charge of important project for your company. The engineering department offers you some talented resources for the same cost as a project manager. What should you do next? Engineering department. for the same cost. Create a change request to prevent a delay in getting the resource hired. Analyze the impact of replacing the resources and exploit the opportunity. Decline the resources to keep team morale. Accept resources as its talented resources for the same cost.
Right.
The engineering department offers you some talented resources for the same cost. Sir, I will eliminated no need for change
Change.
request because
Yeah.
yes, I analyze the impact of replacing the resources and exploit the opportunity. Line the resources C I will eliminate,
Okay.
accept the resources at its talented resources for the same cost.
Mm.
So you are the end in who is in charge of important project. The engineering department offers you some talented. Sir, I think first we will analyze the impact.
Right.
After that, accept.
That's right. So analyze the impact of replacing the resources and exploit the opportunity. 22.
The tools and techniques for the perform qualitative risk analysis process used for assessing individual risk will identify the risks that are important to the project's success. Which of the following steps used during the qualitative risk analysis process to provide input to the risk register? Select risk characteristics, collect and analyze data, identify risk categories, risk causes, and document results. Prioritize risk categories, risk causes, and document data. Prioritize risk categories, risk, and discuss action plan for major risk. Select risk characteristics, collect and prioritize data, implement risk responses, and the tools and technique for perform qualitative risk analysis.
Yes.
Sir, I will eliminate option D,
Mhm.
select risk, because it says implement risk response.
Good.
So
Okay.
implementation is in the
Next
execution
process.
phase.
Yes, true.
Select risk characteristics, collect data, prioritize categories, risk causes, and discuss action plan for major risk. Select collect data, prioritize risk categories, risk causes, and document results. Risk causes. Sir, I think for this reason, I will eliminate A and B because it says document results.
So document results means update the risk register. It's not wrong. Documenting the results means you will update the output. That's correct. But A says identify risks.
Mm.
So it is wrong. B says prioritize risk, categorize risk, causes, document results. It's okay. C is wrong because of action plan. Action plan means response plan. Action plan means response plan. So in qualitative, we are not discussing the action plan. So which one is right?
A is right. Identify risk.
A is right.
No, no. B, prioritize
B is
risk.
because A has identify risk, which we don't do in qualitative. So select risk characteristics, collect and analyze data, prioritize risk, categorize risk, causes, and document the results. This is the right answer. Yes, sir. Next
By the
question.
nature of project, by the nature of project risk, all risks may be assessed according to the probability of occurrence and impact on individual objectives should the risk occur. Other factors may be considered in determining the importance of risks such as manageability and frequency, manageability and cost, urgency and manageability, urgency and frequency. The risk factors may be considered in determining the importance. I think, sir, B maybe because B I will eliminate because of
Cost.
cost,
Good.
manageability, and frequency. Frequency is the right, but manageability.
Frequency is not right word. Manageability is right word. That is the characteristics of the risk. But frequency is not the characteristic.
Then
If the
urgency and
risk is
manageability.
urgency and
Manageability.
yes, that
If
is the right answer.
but frequency is the not the word.
Frequency, no, frequency for risk is not the proper term. If the risk is frequently occurring, it means that we are not addressing the risk. $24.
You and your team have done extensive brainstorming and discussions. You have also looked up the organization process assets and have come up with an exhaustive list of risks. You and your team members feel fairly confident now that you know all the risks. You decide to prioritize the risk and only focus on the high priority ones. A team member indicates that a large number of risks have very low priority. What should you do next? Update risk register. These risks can be accepted. These risks can be dismissed. Perform quantitative risk analysis. A team member indicates that a large number of risks have very low priority. Sir, because the risk, because it has low priority, so I will eliminate the D because it is
Okay.
only talking about C.
Mm.
C also wrong because we cannot dismiss the risk.
Mm.
Update the risk register because it is already. So these risks can be accepted.
I think update risk register is also right answer. These
Yes,
risks
sir,
can be
because we
accepted
can in the if they. Oh yes, I think
because you are in the
we
qualitative
qualitative
process.
assessment.
Mm.
So we update the risk register and watch put them
So
in
you
watch
cannot
list.
accept the risk in qualitative analysis. So update the risk register will be the option, right?
Yes, sir.
Update the risk register. Yes, if it is in plan response, then we can say accept the risks. 25.
You are managing a construction project after identifying risks. You start the qualitative risk analysis process and now you are going to prioritize them. Which of the following techniques are you going to use? Scatter diagram, tornado diagram, sensitive analysis, probability and impact matrix. So the keyword here is qualitative risk analysis. So we will do P and I matrix because the first one is using the quality and these two are using the quantitative.
Good. Very good. 26.
After identifying the risk, what should the project team do next? Develop the mitigation plan, calculate the contingency reserves, create a probability and impact matrix, perform quantitative risk analysis. So, sir, after identification, we create a probability and impact matrix.
Good.
Sir, in this question, the
Mm.
previous one.
Yeah.
So, sir, the previous question, 26. So here, for example, after creating the P and I matrix, we
Mm.
will, if it is not necessary, if it is necessary, we will do the quantitative risk analysis, and
Right.
then we calculate, then we develop the mitigation plan, and then we calculate the contingency reserve. Is this the
Oh,
sequence right?
no. After this, we will do the quantitative analysis. And in quantitative analysis, if we are doing, we will calculate the contingency result. Then we
And
will develop
then
responses.
we develop the mitigation plan.
Yes. Yes. 27.
Which of the following techniques help to identify and analyze risk? Identify and SWOT analysis, probability and impact, Monte Carlo, expert judgment, strength, weakness, opportunities, it is in this identification, identify and analyze,
There's the same, he is asking the
probab
two of three processes: identify,
for three
qualitative,
and
and quantitative.
probability and impact matrix.
That's only for qualitative, not for identification, not for quantitative.
Then it is the Monte Carlo knows for expert judgment.
Expert judgment. Data gathering techniques, they are common tools for the identification and analysis. Interviews, expert judgments. 28.
Which of the following risk analysis techniques can help you investigate the likelihood that each specific risk will occur? Risk probability and impact assessment, risk categorization, risk probability and impact matrix, Monte Carlo.
Mm.
Risk tools can help you investigate that the likelihood that each risk event will occur. Monte Carlo, no, that is simulation.
Right.
Risk categorization, no. We do in the
Mm.
risk register. Let me investigate the likelihood, the risk probability and impact assessment.
Assessment. Because matrix is the output. Assessment is the tool. G 29.
During a risk audit, it was found that some risks were not analyzed correctly. It was suspected that risk-related information was not properly reviewed before concluding characteristics of risk, like probability. What could have been done to prevent this issue? Risk data quality assessment, risk probability and impact assessment, analysis of other risk parameters, effective interviews during the risk identification process that were not analyzed, it was suspected that it was not properly reviewed. I think, sir, it's D
Risk
because
data, risk related information was not properly reviewed.
so effective interviews during the risk identification process, analysis of
But
other
when we
risk
are
parameters
including the
and B.
characteristics of the risk, like probability, mostly probability assessment, impact assessment, we are doing in the risk analysis process. So
Yes, sir.
concluding the characteristics of risk, that is also in qualitative risk analysis process. So how we can get the risk related information, correct one, concrete information, true information, without biasing.
So the risk is wrong. So maybe risk data quality assessment.
Risk data quality assessment, that is the tool for qualitative analysis. So if the risk related information was not properly reviewed before concluding the characteristics of risk like probability assessment, then we have to do the risk data quality assessment. 13.
A project management team has identified a large number of risks during its risk identification sessions. It noticed that it would not have the time and resources to quantitatively analyze all of them. The team also agreed that not all of these risks would justify the effort necessary to dig deeply into them. What should the team do next? Plan risk responses for each of the identified risks, perform qualitative risk analysis to prioritize the risk, implement agreed upon risk response plans, perform quantitative risk analysis to numerically analyze risk. Sir, option D I will eliminate because the
Okay.
question says not all justify the effort to dig deeply, but should implement agreed upon risk response. Risk response has not been performed. Qualitative risk analysis plan risk response, but the risk plan has been not. Sir, I think option B,
Option B is
perform
the right answer.
qualitative.
And for all identified risk, we cannot plan the responses because those who are low priority risk, they will be accepted. 31.
While creating the probability and impact matrix, what should the team and the project manager consider to support the project risk analysis? Contingency reserve for budget and schedule, possible effects on objectives of the project, project scope and project deliverables, project possible effects on the objectives of the project.
Right. Yes. There's impact analysis. We see what are the possible impacts on the project objectives. 32.
A project manager noticed an unusually high rate of risk but has limited resources to address them. To what should the project manager refer to determine risk priorities? Risk mitigation strategy, RPS, risk management plan, risk probability, and impact matrix. What should the project manager refer to determine risk priorities? Sir, A, risk
A. Yes,
probability.
probability and impact matrix is having the scores, and based on the scores, we do the prioritization and qualitative risk analysis process. 33.
A project is in the execution phase, so risk management plan has been implemented and risk analysis is ongoing. How should the impacts of identified risk be communicated to the stakeholders? Show the reasons for upcoming risk using either an affinity diagram or a matrix diagram. Calculate the necessary contingency funds and time buffers needed for the risk response. Draw probability and impact matrix. Engage in opportunity management on the identified risk for added value. So option B and D I will eliminate.
Okay.
Also has been implemented and risk analysis. This one has been implemented. Risk analysis is ongoing. What should the impacts of identified risk? Sir, for impact affinity of how should the impact? Sir, I think option C.
Option C,
No.
because impact assessment mostly in the qualitative analysis, and the results is in the P&I matrix. So if we want to show them the impact analysis, impact of identified risk to the stakeholders, then probability and impact matrix results will be shared. $34.
A project manager is aware of a high risk item prior to starting a project. The project manager has completed a risk analysis and concluded that the risk is positive, high impact, and low probability. One, what should the project manager do? Conduct a cost benefit analysis, take action to capture the positive effect of uncertainty, conduct SWOT analysis, facilitate a risk brainstorming session. High prior and conclude that the risk is positive, high impact and low probability. The positive conduct of cost benefit analysis. The impact is high. Sir, option C is eliminated.
Okay.
D, facilitate a risk brainstorming session. Take action to capture the positive effect of uncertainty. Action we
Action
do.
mean action plan.
Yes, sir. Action we do in the risk response.
Yes.
So conduct of those. But it's, sir, I think option D.
Yes, because he has completed the risk analysis. So after that, plan risk response, discuss the action plan, take the action plan to capture the positive effect of uncertainty, which is mostly keeping the contingency reserves. 35.
The project team identifies a risk related to delays in customs on substantial equipment that will likely occur. Equipment delays on this project could lead to project cancellation. How should the probability and impact be characterized for this risk? The project team identifies in customs that will likely occur.
Hmm.
Equipment delays on this project could lead to project cancellations, so the impact is high. High impact. How should the impact is high? Sir, I think C, high probability and high impact.
Yes, likely occur means high probability and cancellation, high impact. So
If
high
it
prob
says will, if it doesn't use the likely word, then I will say low probability.
then you can say low probability. Or then the probability option will not be there because it's if it is not likely, then probability option is still not clear. Question number
Okay.
36.
Which of the following success factors will enhance the perform qualitative risk analysis process as the risk occurrence gets closer, agreed upon iterative qualitative risk analysis, appropriate project model, agreed upon definitions of which of the following will enhance a qualitative risk analysis process as a risk. Um, Sir, I think D, agreed upon definitions of risk terms.
Risk terms, they are to eliminate the biasing factor and to create the common understanding about the risk management. But to enhance the success factors for the performed qualitative risk analysis is agreed upon approach, which we are agreeing when we are especially about what is the high probability, medium probability, low probability, or what is the high priority score, medium score, low scores. These approaches are useful. Okay.
Sir, in this area, there are not too much of questions about quantitative risk analysis. So in
No,
the real exams,
this is only for qualitative. Next will come. Tomorrow we will do quantitative.
okay.
Okay. So agreed upon approach is the right answer. So we'll conclude the session here. We will meet tomorrow